Would you agree, Key, that this is the marquee matchup of the football season, Week 1?
Yeah, I think so, because you got two teams, right? You got a team that had to retool his offensive line to figure out how to get back to the Super Bowl, and they realized that the offensive line was the reason that they did not win the Super Bowl. And then you got a team that wanted to strengthen their defense in the Cleveland Browns. They get back OBJ on the offensive side. Nothing changes much over there. But defensively, they kind of had, I don't want to call it a makeover, but they added some pieces like John Johnson and Troy Hill from the Rams. Then they go out and they draft a corner. Then I think they're going to get Del Pont back, the safety that they drafted from LSU a year ago that got injured in training camp. And then they get Jadeveon Clowney. So they went out and added some pieces because they felt defensively they were not quite where the offense was at.
You see, for me, this is the year for the Browns. This is the year. And here are the reasons why. Number one, they have the best offensive line in football. Ranks number 1 in pass blocks, number 1 in run blocks.
Which almost never happens.
Almost never happens, Max. Number 2, when you have names like Jarvis Landry, OBJ, emerging player in Rashad Higgins, okay, I love that wide receiving core. And you probably have the best duo runners in the game, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. But also for Baker Mayfield, make or break year for him, but here's why he's going to succeed. First 3 seasons, man, he's thrown for over 3,500 yards. It's not unrealistic to sit here and say that passing yards, he couldn't reach 4,000. If he were to have 30 touchdowns around that range, keep his turnovers to single digits and a high passer rating, I mean, Baker Mayfield, if he plays off what he did last year, I do believe with the talent on the field, I'm not saying the continuity is right there, right out of the gate, but Kevin Stefanski, with the way they play, this team was in the ball game with Casey last year. Now, I know that
lost by 1 score.
I know Patrick Mahomes is hurt, but if there's anything that gives you confidence in the offseason that you belong on that damn field, it was last year's performance and the way Baker Mayfield ended the season last year.
Look, I asked Marquee, and obviously the Bucs and the Cowboys, you know, Super Bowl champs and the Cowboys, that's a marquee matchup, but Zach Martin going down and you know, Ndamukong Suh coming back and the champs are at home, and I think most people are expecting the Bucs to win. This game is not only marquee but revealing. Key, I'm thinking about Baker Mayfield, and he was the number 1 overall pick and had 4 head coaches in a little over 2 years, like 2 years and a game. But he got Stefanski, and he looks really good. Key, I don't think anyone would call Baker Mayfield elite, because when you start to look at the package, what does he do great? I was thinking about this. What does Baker do great? The one thing maybe you could argue he does great is make decisions quickly under pressure for a young quarterback. He does that pretty damn well. Where do you think Baker fits in to the quarterback hierarchy? Can he take another step? Is this the guy that we have now and basically he's plateaued?
What is it that he needs to really do, Max, right? You look at what they're asking him to do, and he's doing everything that they're asking him to do. In 3 years, all he's done is continue to get better. Even though, despite having, as you mentioned, well, I wouldn't call them 4 head coaches. I'll call 1 head coach and 3 dudes that wore the uniform. So
3 dudes who can't get a job right now in the NFL, basically. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, they got, not head coaching jobs. But when you talk about Baker Mayfield, there's only about 5 elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. Then there's other guys that do their job for their teams. And he's one of the guys that do the job for the team. Doesn't make him a bad quarterback, doesn't make him a great quarterback, just makes him efficient. And you win championships with efficiency. You don't win championships with the greatest quarterbacks of all times every single year. It doesn't happen that way. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco hit in the playoffs. Joe Flacco was not great in the regular season, but he hit in the playoffs and he won the Super Bowl on the backs of the defense, but he was the guy driving the bus. And when he drove the bus, he drove it right into a $100+ million contract at that point in time. So when you look at a guy like Baker Mayfield, yes, he may not have the ideal look as a superstar quarterback because he's kind of short and stocky and those sort of things. He doesn't have the biggest of arm, but he is efficient. And I'll take efficiency over somebody who's sexy all day long.
All right, listen to what Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN front office insider, had to say on Get Up. Jay, I want you to listen and react to this.
Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, is a really good player. He's not a great player. And there's probably an $8 or $10 million difference between what a good quarterback gets paid, like a Kirk Cousins, let's say, and then the recent elite deals like the Dak Prescott's recently got. And Cleveland's done an incredible job. They have a really good roster, and the more money that goes to Baker Mayfield, the less they have to keep some of their key players, like they just extended Nick Chubb. Denzel Ward will need an extension in the near future. So if I'm Cleveland, I try to pay Baker Mayfield appropriately, but I don't go too far because I don't want to lose some of these other key players that they've done a great job of assembling.
I'm with Tannenbaum to a degree. I recognize that Andrew Berry, the GM, the youngest GM in the game of football, but seems very patient and very mature with the way he handles a lot of his off-season decisions, and Kevin Stefanski, that you don't want to overly pay for Baker Mayfield. So I think you do pay appropriately. But this whole thing that Baker Mayfield can't be a great quarterback, I think is BS. I think he does have a chance to be a great quarterback because being a great quarterback also means you have a great fit with the talent you have around you, Max. Now, I'm not saying he deserves Josh Allen money. You're not going to give him a 6-year, $268 million extension. But, I mean, QBs of his range, you have to think, have to be in that $30, $35 million range per year for a guy like Baker Mayfield?
In a hard cap league, you got to price commodities appropriately. Like if you misprice them, if you overpay Peter, you got to rob Paul because there's a hard cap. And you hear Tannenbaum say that he's kind of closer to Cousins, right, than Dak. That's what I infer from it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.